Okay, sweet. Thanks for joining. Hi, my name's Ruth Croft. I'm a Kiwi trail runner, currently in New Zealand, and yeah, this is my first Instagram live, actually. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, it is working. Yeah, so I do trail races normally at the moment I've been doing 50 miles and below. I kind of gave ultras a go a while ago, but I decided I didn't really like poles or hiking, so I've dropped back down in distance. So today I'm going to briefly talk to you about like preparing yourself to get back into racing, and then some about the mental approach to the time that we're in right now, because I believe that COVID has been a massive shift for a lot of people, and there's going to be a lot of mental health issues, I think, that will arise from that, and so different ways that you can navigate that. And then lastly, I'm also going to talk about race nutrition. So if you have any questions as we go, just let me know, or you can type them here, and I'll try and answer them as we go or at the end also. So as you know, I'm a trail runner for Scott Running and also 𝐑𝐮𝐭, and currently based in New Zealand. I normally split my time between 6 months in New Zealand and then 6 months in Europe for the Northern Hemisphere summer for the European racing season. I was supposed to be in Europe last weekend for a race, but as you can tell, like a lot's gone on at the moment, and so I'm still in New Zealand. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment, and kind of embracing myself for the winter ahead. I haven't had a winter in a really long time, so yeah, it's going to be a bit different for me this year. So the first thing I kind of briefly want to talk about how COVID has affected New Zealand. I think we're pretty fortunate over here. It's been a bit different compared to Europe, but we got put into lockdown about 6 weeks ago, and so only essential businesses were open, but we were still able to run locally. So as long as you could go out your front door, and run, that was okay. So we've been pretty thankful in that sense. And then we had 2 weeks where a few more businesses were open, but you were able to drive to a trail and run, but you couldn't go on any big, really mountain missions, and a lot of our Department of Conservation trails have still been closed. And then we just found out today that on Thursday we'll go back to somewhat like normal life. So a lot more trails and that will be open. You can't hear. Is that better? Someone said they can't hear. So hopefully, yeah, can you hear me? Can someone respond? Okay, they said they can. No. Yeah, and so briefly just want to talk about how to get back into racing. So there's kind of like two different situations I think people are in at the moment. So the first one is people who are still in confinement, and I think if you're still in confinement, the best thing you can do right now is kind of forget the racing setting, just focus on what you can do in your house or in your neighborhood, and really don't overdo the at-home workouts. I think that is something that could end up giving you more burnout than anything. And really, I think it's a time to focus on other things in your life if you've got family or you're working from home, and then just use exercise or running for the first, sorry, someone said they can't hear, but I think everyone else can hear. Yeah, maybe it's your end, sorry. So yeah, to use exercise for your mental health, try and get out for 30 or 60 minutes or whatever that is inside your house as well. And then I think it's really brought up a lot for people, because races, when you take that away, it kind of gives you a question as to why do you run. So yeah, so really to find your motivation behind running is a good time while you're in lockdown. Okay, you can hear me. Thanks, sweet. So yeah, so if you're still in lockdown, as I just said, don't try to hold on to your fitness or try to improve your fitness. Just accept your situation and I think that's when you'll kind of make progress there. For people who have just come out of lockdown, which I know is the case for France today, I think, and then Spain, my advice would be not to be in too much of a rush to do too much too soon. I think it can be like, oh, you've got all this freedom, you're allowed out on trails again, and you could get really stuck into workouts. Okay, you can hear. Awesome. You could get stuck into workouts and do too much too soon and get injured. So I think, my advice would be really to just gradually get back into running. I would go back to base phase. I don't think there's going to be any races for, someone just said in Portugal, September. I think September is going to be maybe a bit too optimistic even, I don't know. But if you're aiming for September to be racing, so now is May. So you've got May, half of May, June, July, August, September. That gives you 4.5 months. So I would kind of go back to base phase and be building for 8 to 10 weeks. Base phase is essentially working on your aerobic development. So I'd recommend doing some easy runs, some endurance runs. So your endurance runs kind of called your all-day pace, something you could do all day, and then doing some steady state, which is at the higher end of your aerobic capacity. But it's still, these sort of sessions is just getting your aerobic fitness back without putting too much pressure on your body. And steady, like if you're doing steady state runs, you can do up to three of those sessions a week normally, because doesn't take too much for your body to recover, because it's not a high end intensity or anything like that. I'd also recommend adding in some strides that can work on your economy and your leg turnover. So that was something I would suggest. So as I just said, like I wouldn't rush into going out and doing these massive adventures too soon, and just be really cautious with your body, because you probably have been doing like the least amount of training you've been doing for a while, and so it's going to be a bit of a shock to the system to be building back into it. So I want to talk about like how to reset yourself mentally so you keep the stoke pretty high. My first one was, as I already mentioned, is not to overdo the at-home workouts. And then, because you don't want to do so many at-home workouts that by the time you're back able to run, that you are kind of like mentally fatigued from that. The second one was just, to kind of get a list of adventures you want to go on, or anything, and with friends, maybe check out some local trails that are in your local area that you haven't been able to do, and just kind of start a list. And I think that can kind of be motivating and something to look forward to. And then I think it's a good question to ask yourself, like, what really would be motivating for you. I know for me personally, it's coming into winter in New Zealand, and I had just done from January through to March, I'd spent all doing base training, ready for Transvolcania, and then I kind of had a bit of a dip in motivation 2 weeks ago. So what happened with my coach and I, we decided to just take 2 weeks off running, and I kind of was off the program, but just doing 30 to 60 minutes either biking or running each day. And then after that 2 weeks, I've been really stoked to get back into running. The plan was to go to base training, but I kind of asked myself, I don't really feel motivated to go straight back to base training, especially when I don't know if I'm even going to be able to get over to Europe this year. And so the plan is for me to do a cross-country season, not cross-country skiing, cross-country running in New Zealand. And that's something I'm pretty excited about, because I haven't been able to race cross-country since college. And so for you, maybe it's like you might get excited by working on your speed, doing some shorter stuff, because you might not be able to do those international races that you had been wanting to do this year. So it's about asking yourself what really gets you motivated right now. That's the question you can ask yourself what you would really want to do. The next thing I was going to talk about was like the mental health aspect, because I know with Corona it has affected so many people in so many different ways, and I think it's going to be a massive thing coming out of this. And I know a lot of people are at home, working from home while trying to look after their kids, which can be like something they're not used to and quite full on. And so I was going to share some different things that I've been doing during this lockdown to help with my own like mental health. So the first thing I've been doing, I've noticed since I've been in lockdown, is that I've been on a screen on a laptop a lot more. And so I've been really trying to restrict the time that I'm on the laptop, and making sure that in the morning my cell phone's not the first thing that I look at, and in the evening it's not the last thing I look at. So it's really having kind of clear boundaries as to the times that you're going to be on your laptop or your phone. And as you know, what happens when you're on your laptop in the evening is that it suppresses the production of the hormone melatonin, and you need like the natural rays of melatonin to help you sleep. And so one way you can get around this is by not being on your screen at night, or another way is you could also get the blue light glasses or you can also get an app on your screen, I think, as well, which is a good one. Another thing that's helped me is having a routine, waking up every day, trying to get up early, and have a list of things that you want to do in the day, so that I don't just end up watching Money Heist on Netflix for the whole day and getting nothing done. So I think that's really important. Another one is just eating well. It can really affect your physical health, but also your mental health. And I know when you're at home in lockdown, what can happen is you can end up going to the fridge like 100 times in the day and just snacking the whole day. So really just trying to have set meals of breakfast, lunch and dinner, and making like preparing good meals, and then also eating them not in front of a TV or a screen, just so you can bring your awareness to your food, and also that can help with your digestion and things like that. And it kind of, if you have set meals, it helps you prevent from snacking all day. So that's another thing. And then another thing I've been doing is meditation. I know some people are into it and some people aren't, but I think COVID is a good time to try new things and pick up some new habits if you can. So there's different types of meditation you can do, but what I've been learning is Vipassana meditation, and so it's good if you wake up in the morning and you just sit down on a cushion and bring your awareness into yourself, and so you can focus on your breath and bringing your awareness to your breath, and then noticing when your mind wanders, and it's okay, that's natural, especially if you're a beginner. It's being aware that your mind is wandering and then pulling your attention back to your breath, and I think that can really help. You can do it throughout the day as well, or in the evening, just whatever works the best for you. And then another one I do also is cold showers. So that can really help to alleviate stress, make you feel really refreshed and help with your alertness. It's also known that cold showers can help with people suffering from depression. It's really good for your immunity. If you're not keen on cold showers, what you can do, or you can start with a warm shower and just turn it to cold for like the last 30 seconds, and then work your way up from there. That's another thing. And then, as I said before, it's just trying to stay active, either 30 or 60 minutes per day. I think that can really help your mental health, and just reaching out to friends and family, and seeing how they are, and checking in with them. So that's those ones for mental health. And then I briefly wanted to talk about race day nutrition, because I know that that's probably quite important for a lot of people. So the people I coach, I often find that the one thing that can really let them down if they don't practice it enough is nutrition, especially if you're an ultra runner and do a lot of the longer distances. So like the people I coach, I tell them the main thing to look for is your carbohydrates, your fluid intake, sodium, and then also caffeine. So with the shorter races, you can really get away with not having such a strict nutrition plan. I think once you do the longer stuff, as I said, it's really important. So your carbohydrates can come in the form of like glucose, sucrose, which is fructose plus glucose, then your glucose polymers, which is your maltodextrins, which you find in a lot of gels, and then also your starches, which is your rice and your oats. So it's up to you to find what form works best for you. I know a lot of people who are starting new to trail running, they find it really hard to take gels and prefer to have solid foods, which is fine. The main thing is to try and get, so if it's over 3 hours your race, I want you, the best is to get at least 50 grams of carbohydrate. And what the great thing is about carbohydrate is it is independent of your weight and also of your training status. So you can totally train your gut to absorb more. As the years have progressed, I've actually been able to move over to gels, and for me, I just find them a lot more convenient. I know what I'm getting in a gel, and it's a lot lighter than actual food. But so as I said, you want to try and get 50 grams per hour, and 50 grams would be essentially 2 gels. If you like solid food, then the best is to have low fiber, low protein, and low fat, because it takes, otherwise if you have like high fiber, it takes a lot for your digestive system to break it all down, and it can cause you a lot of stress on your GI tract. So it's best to play around with the carbohydrates. When it comes to fluids, rule of thumb, I say, is 450 to 500 mils per hour. So of course, if it's hotter than that, you need to adjust it. And then sodium, there's been like a lot of controversy about sodium, if you need it or not. So this is something that you have to really play around with. And of course, it is in relation to how much water you're taking too. And then for caffeine, this is something you have to see if it works for you or not. So caffeine, I normally always have a cup of coffee before I start racing, and then I won't have caffeine until the second half of the race if I need a pick-me-up. And then, so how caffeine works is they say you can take up to 200 milligrams. So I've heard people taking more than 200 milligrams, but I think 200 milligrams is the upper limit until you start having GI issues. And the other way you can calculate it is 3 to 6 milligrams per kg of body weight. And so, again, caffeine, you have to work out if it works for you or not. It reaches its peak 45 minutes after ingestion, and then it has a half-life of 5 hours. And so, I think it's great to have in the second half of a race, because it's a pick me up, and also, as well as a pick me up, you could have it in the form of even like flat Coke or Red Bull. When you have it not carbonated, it's a lot easier on your stomach as well. So that's some nutrition advice for you. If you have any questions, just let me know and I'll try and answer them now. But I think that's about it. All I'm going to talk about now. But if I hear anything else, my time is pretty much up. Well, is But yeah, our government just announced today that we'll move to, in New Zealand, called level 2. So pretty much a lot of businesses and that can open up now. And as I said, running wise, I was hoping to get to Europe in September, but at the moment I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But hopefully our borders will open to Australia in a couple of months. But yeah, everything's kind of up in the air at the moment, but just really enjoying this time in New Zealand and looking forward to getting stuck into a cross-country season and maybe even taking up skiing as well. But I'm pretty jealous that it's warming up in the northern hemisphere. Yeah. Sweet. So I'm going to log off. But if you ever have any questions or that, you can just reach out to me on social media, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. And yeah, stay safe and stay home.